Ron, thank you so much for joining me here for a one-take conversation. This is sort of relatively hot off the press news. You were recently appointed or announced in any case as the new CEO of Graebel. Very exciting. Congratulations. I've obviously gotten to know you with great pleasure. I've gotten to know you a fair bit over the course of this year. But for those in our industry who don't already know you, uh, I thought maybe just to start, break straight into it, you know, how would you describe yourself? And what do people that want to get to know you better, maybe know you a little bit, but not enough, they want to get to know you better and hopefully look to establish long-lasting relationships with you, just as I've become convinced and compelled to. What would you say to them? Who is Ron Dunlap, and what do they need to know about you? But congratulations first and foremost.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me on today. I think the first thing I would say is I'm probably the most intense, laid-back person you would ever meet. So always looking to have a good time and relax, but in the same breath, put me in a corner and watch how competitive I can be. And I think in our industry, that's something that's so powerful, to make sure you have that competitive edge. And certainly when you think about me as an individual, I really believe that team becomes well before self. But you've got to make sure you take care of others. And when you take care of others, they'll take care of you. There's an old saying that goes basically, if every person took care of their neighbor, no neighbor would ever need any help. So I just believe that's the way we should work together in this industry. I've been in the industry almost 25 years. Like most of us, I fell into it. I actually went to work for Prudential Financial to design websites, which was an interesting shift in a career, and ended up in the Prudential Real Estate and Relocation division. And that's how I ended up in relocation. Spent about 8.5 years there, came to Graebel, and I've been here 15 years. So it's been a great journey. I'm married, have 3 kids. My family is very important to me. We try to spend as much time as we can together, but they're older. A couple live in New York, one lives in Flagstaff. So travel is something I get to do a lot of with work and personal. But at the end of the day, I think really if you just said, what's your biggest goal in life? It's honestly to leave it better than I found it. And I think at this point in my career, I've become more of a teacher than anything else. So hopefully the people I interact with walk away saying, wow, I got something from that individual. I got something from Ron that will help me in my career, my personal life, really make me a better person. So that's really where I'm at in my life right now.
That's awesome. I knew a lot of that from before, but some things you said were new even to me. You didn't. You have a military background, right? Like, I mean, you were talking about a little bit about the change in career and switch up. Talk a little bit about, what that every friend I have that has a military background leaves a lasting impression on you. In fact, defines you in many ways. Is that true for you? And if so, what are the things that you've carried with you that you
Sure.
cherish today?
Yeah, I think 100% military. I spent 4 years in the military, another 3.5 years working as a civil servant after I got done with my graduate degree.
Hmm.
What I would say is you're taught about a chain of command, and most people, I think, confuse what a chain of command really means. In
Hmm.
simplest terms, it's solve the problems at the lowest possible level, which means you empower your people. The goal is not to go up, but to actually solve them at the lowest possible level. I very much believe that. I very much am data driven, where I look for the data to help guide me. At the end of the day, though, you have to understand that your decisions impact people, whether it's
Yeah.
transferring employees and their families, whether it's your own employees or your client contacts or the partners you work with. All of those decisions you make will impact every one of those constituents. So you have to understand the decisions, which can be data driven, will eventually impact people. So you always have to find the balance of data, but also understanding that personal connection and what that does to the individual. So I think for me, the military taught me both of those. It's certainly been something that has stuck with me and will be a piece of me till the day I die. You never leave it. Once
Yeah.
military, always military. That's just the
Right.
reality.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, it is a great descriptor. I hadn't thought of that, but a great descriptor for you, most intense, laid back person. Uh,
Right. And I kept the haircut. I mean,
yeah, and
you
you
got to
kept
stick
there.
it.
That's awesome. It's funny actually because that's very, very true. It's very correct in the short but furious amount of time that we've gotten to know each other. I think I completely agree with you that you have a very laid back energy to yourself. You're very sort of easy to get to know and get along with. And there's always sort of a very clear um, this thing that I really like and respect, this very clear sense of, okay, what I live for is value creation. How are we creating value for those that we care for and that we are responsible for? And I can see that your mind's always kind of working, even with that laid back energy of like, okay, how are we pushing the ball forward? How are we actually uh, creating that value and lasting impact, which I know is an integral part of Graebel and its philosophy. So turning a little bit to Graebel, I mean, obviously it's a family-owned company, right?
Sure.
Um, you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the first CEO that does not have a Graebel last name. So I imagine that comes with a lot of opportunities, but it also comes with some pressures. Tell me a little bit about how do you see that?
Sure. That's been a pretty common question I've actually received from people I've interacted with. And I answer it this way. I'm not a Grable by DNA, but I ran to Grable as fast as I could. So I'll start with that. I
Okay.
also think about, what does it mean to be a Grable? It means you have a soul of a servant. You're a heart-led leader. You believe in the
Mhm.
duty of care. You believe in people first. You believe in doing it right or making it right and keeping your commitments.
Mhm.
So if that means that's what it is to be a Grable, then I'm proud to say I'm a Grable. I get there's a name to it. I get there's certainly a family connection when you're family owned. But I also think that when you look at the connections I've had with Bill, the brotherhood we've created over the years, how close I am to the family. I met my wife through the Grables. I can't even
No
fathom how
kidding.
much. Yeah,
Wait,
100%. So
what?
yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
Bill's sister-in-law, Julie, actually introduced me to my wife. So we are about as close to being a Grable as you can be without being married into the family. So I definitely bleed Grable blue. So I'll just say it that way.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
You didn't mention any pressures though that you feel
I
with
don't
this
feel
setup.
any pressures from the family per se or our board.
Okay.
They're very supportive. I
Right.
think that, and I'm not even sure pressure is the right word. I see so many
Hmm.
opportunities for Grable right now. It's such an exciting time for us. Certainly where we have been, where we're headed coming into our 75th year. Certainly understanding the industry is changing. There's so many things going on right now. And when I talk to people in our industry, and you and I have talked a lot about this, so many
Yeah.
people almost have this sense of fear, almost
Yeah.
paralysis. And I see an opportunity right now. I see a great chance to look at an industry and actually recreate it, redefine it. We have opportunities around, certainly the real estate thing is concerning, but doesn't that open the door to talk about how do we price as an industry? How do we have more transparency, more openness so that our clients feel comfortable with how we interact with them from a pricing standpoint? When you think about different services, there are all kinds of services that expand beyond the core set that we have traditionally thought of as mobility. So I think that's certainly an area. And then, of course, there's technology and certainly AI. We're in the middle of a $50 million investment. And I know for some larger companies, $50 million may not seem like a lot, but as a family-owned Graebel company, that's a huge commitment. We're about halfway through really transforming the whole experience around tech. And when I say that, I don't mean it's all tech. Everyone goes away. What I mean is you create an experience where you have one need and I have another. So you may be so tech heavy, you never want to talk to anybody. And I'm the high maintenance one. I need someone to hold my hand. Well, I see the slider at some point where you kind of pick how much tech do you want and how
Yeah.
much do you want having truly that consultative interaction. And wherever you put that slider, the system has to be able to support that experience. So when we say people first, it doesn't mean that tech's not a key part of it. It is. But people first means you get a pick. You're the person. You define what kind of experience you want. We have to be able to support that. So that's going on right now. We're really in this whole transformation right now, and it's a crazy exciting time to be a part of it for sure.
Yeah, so that triggers the question in my head, which, as you said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in our industry. It sounds like an exciting time for Grable. You're stepping in. I'm sure there's 100 things for you to be looking at or working on at any given point in time. What are your key priorities as you're thinking about? In many ways, look, this appointment, I understand. I don't, hopefully many people understand. These kinds of things don't happen overnight. So it's not like you suddenly went from being the president to the CEO and overnight things changed completely. But having said that, I'm sure you've given thought to what your core priorities are in your new role. Maybe share a little bit about, what are those things that you're most focused on,
Sure.
short term and sort of medium term?
Yeah, so let's go back real quick. Why now? Why the transition? And then we talk about our strategy. So this has
Good
been
point. Yeah.
in effect for honestly the better part of 7 years. I think was the first conversation Bill and I had about
Oh,
this
wow.
in Asia. And we said, wow, we want to make sure we have that right succession planning. So about 4 years ago, I became president. And at that point, really became Bill's only direct report. So we started moving in that direction
Hmm.
4 years ago as we entered into the 74th year, almost going into our 75th year. Bill hits 40 years at the company, probably worked more than that if you include the kid years, but
Yeah.
officially 40 years. And you think about the change in the company, it just felt like the right time for him. For me, it just seemed like it was a logical transition given the fact that technology will become such a bigger driver. I've been a CIO in my life, I've been a COO in my life. So when you look at my experiences in some ways versus Bill's, I think he believed I was better fit to run the company from this day forward. And that's a testament to him, his strength of character, his leadership, and certainly the realization that to get to the next phase in Graebel's next iteration, he felt like I could get there better than he could as the leader. And again, he's been amazing. He's not going anywhere. He's our chairman. He's still going to be at every WERC event. He'll still be at every major event we do. So he's still out there and still Bill. And Bill will only be Bill as Bill can
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But with that said, part of that is also understanding where you want to go. So we're on our second iteration. We do a 5-year strategy. It's a very formalized written document. We update it every couple of years. So right now we have a strategy we call Graebel 2028. It was updated in 23, and that lays out a very clear direction for us. Certainly tech is a big part of that. I mentioned additional services. So when I look at, as I move into this role, where are we focused? It's the continued investment around tech. In parallel, making sure we also protect our culture. The one thing about Grable that will not change is our culture. We believe in our values of truth, love, and integrity. We believe that our culture is what makes us different, so we have to protect that. I very much am aligned with Bill and what I see as the right culture for this organization. And I mentioned it when I said, what does it mean to be a Grable, right? So that's certainly there. And then ultimately, we have shareholder expectations like every organization. We may not be publicly traded, but we have shareholders. We have to make sure we meet their expectations as well. So
Got
there's a
it.
lot going on for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I mean, there is a lot going on, and Grable actually has a quite an extensive background. I mean, 74 years, like you said, of Grable hasn't stayed one thing during that 74-year time period. It's changed a lot, it's evolved, it's, innovated in its own ways, in many ways. And I think maybe in many ways because it puts people first as the sort of the driving mantra for it. I'm guessing, but with that said, like, give us a little peek into like how are you thinking about what the next stage of innovation or evolution looks like for Grable?
Sure.
Some of which you kind of touched on, but what should people think about or not be surprised by if they see over the next
Yes, I
several
love how
months, several years?
yeah, I love how you said it, the people first approach, right? So if you go back and look at our history, why would we become a van line? Well, because we
Yeah.
wanted to control our destiny. Why would we become a relocation company? Well, when we became a relocation company back in 2000, it was because we were losing direct contact with our clients. That's
Hmm.
people first. You want to make sure you stay close to the people that you're serving, right? So as we continued and grew as a relocation company, recognizing the van lines had to go to really get to where we wanted to be. I mean, that's good to great selling the mills. I mean, that's a perfect example of that constant evolution.
If I were to switch gears for a second, away from Grable into the broader industry itself, that we are in, I mean, look, it's not a secret to any of us, obviously widely aware, many of us in leadership positions, that this is a pretty difficult time for our industry, compared to what we've seen before. It is, there's a lot of cost pressures on companies, there's structural limitations to thriving mobility by way of increasing nationalism and protectionism, and harder to put people across borders, and geopolitical uncertainty and risk. Certainly, the cost of doing business for all of us is much higher than it was before. Uh, with all that said, how do you handicap, clearly stepping into this role as you have, you have a point of view. I mean, you wouldn't step into this role and take on this responsibility if you had a dire view of the future of our industry. But you've got to be concerned about things. So maybe just sort of handicap for me the positives that you see and the challenges you see ahead for our industry and how you process that in the context of the RMC space, Graebel itself, but our industry at large.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit ago. I think there are so many opportunities. Let's start with the opportunities and we'll really talk about the challenges, right? In a perfect world, every challenge is an opportunity. That's just not
Right.
always a reality. So
Right.
I do think that there are a number of opportunities around, again, going back and figuring out how do we use technology and AI to enhance the experience. If you think about the last time you bought a ticket to fly on a plane, you didn't talk to anybody. If you go
Right.
back 15 years ago, you had to talk to somebody. So I think we have to challenge ourselves to think differently about how we use tech. And we're so scared of using tech that it almost displaces us as an organization or as a provider. I just don't think that's accurate. I think that there will always be a need for somebody to help people going through a very complex scenario like a relocation. But I also think a lot of the things we do today can actually be facilitated through technology. And when you think about it, it's always that if you're traveling, no problems getting your ticket, but when all of a sudden you have a flight disruption, you want to talk to somebody. Don't send me to an app. Give me somebody. Then you get on the phone, it's like, oh, it's a 30-minute, 45-minute wait. No, no, no,
Right.
no, thanks. I want somebody now. So
Right.
whatever we design, we're going to have to be able to be available in real time without having any waits, but also allow the tech to drive some of that experience. To me, that's the opportunity I think people are missing. And when you do that, then you become more efficient. And the reality is every organization in the mobility space, the number one expense they deal with is headcount. Number one, that's the number one expense. If we can find a way to be more efficient, then we can actually be more profitable. Because I think the challenge we have in this industry is that it's very hard to really make high margins to be able to reinvest on a continual basis. Relo is not a high margin business. Everybody knows that. And in some ways, we're our own worst enemies. We've actually treated ourselves like a commodity. We've priced like a commodity. And I'm not always sure everybody understands that. So I think that one of the things we have to do is move away from talking about services and talk about benefits and the benefits we provide to the people that we're serving. And I think when we start changing that mindset, I think our industry will change with it. So I think those are the two things we have great opportunities with technology, but also challenges with how do we navigate it in a time when margins are still lean and being able to invest in the technology that's expensive by also meeting the other needs our clients have of us because they continue to ask for more as well, right? Certainly cybersecurity. We've tripled our investment in cybersecurity spending over the last 12 months, 18 months. That's not going to slow down. Right? If you think about ESG, there are investments there. You can't just talk about it. You have to invest in it. You have to show progress. And we were one of the first 100 signatories on the climate pledge across the globe. We're proud of that. But you know what? Signing a document does nothing if you don't follow it up. So for me, there's just a lot of opportunities to put your money where your mouth is in this industry, and we have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, that's exactly right. There's this shift we need to make as an industry as a whole away from, yeah, this is like logistics and coordination type services to, no, what is the impact that we have? We are actually enabling employees to pursue their greatest goals in life, whether it's professional or personal, and we're helping companies really drive business objectives through the deployment of talent in right place, right time. So I think that is obviously something that I feel very passionately about and have made a sort of medium longer term priority for WERC to address and help work with the industry to help address. So it's awesome to hear that. I mean, not surprising at all that you're very focused on that. I think every leader in this space needs to be, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you in that regard. But with that being said, obviously it is tricky times right now. Yeah, or even our clients, even your clients are, um, you know, uh, they're not flush with cash. Their budgets are under pressure. They're not being given carte blanche to just go, provide whatever it is that you need. And so it's it's telling. It's very appropriate that you're saying, okay, you've got to look for efficiencies, and technology could be a big contributor. But what else do you think about when you think about the fact that there is a constrained environment that our customers are operating in, and at least for the foreseeable immediate future, that is the case. How do you continue to operate in a way that delivers that client customer value that you strive for and you live for by putting clients first? How do those two things square? I mean, that is a difficult thing. And by the way, I ask you the question. This is the exact thing that everyone in our industry, regardless of vertical, is struggling with. But I'm expected to and desire to provide the highest quality service to the individual that I'm responsible for. But how do I do it in a way that is actually sustainable for me? So curious to hear what your thoughts are around
Yeah, I think there are a couple pieces to this, and it's not a real quick, simple answer. So I think number one,
that.
for
Right.
us, we're fortunate. We've actually had growth this year, where I think
Mm,
a lot of our industry have either stayed flat or actually had some regression from where they had from last year. So we've actually seen growth,
awesome.
which is amazing because it's just not normal in this industry right now. But with that said, I learned years ago that when you have the slowest moments, those are your greatest opportunities. Sometimes to look internally and figure out how to do things differently, right? Really take an assessment of your organization and understand what can you do, what can you change, how do you really look at the industry as a whole and figure out how do you serve it better. So we've done a lot of that. Even with our growth, we've done a lot of that. I mean, this should normally be the backside of peak season for just everyone in this industry. And I will say, if people aren't feeling that, then now's the time to really take a step back and say, how do I do it differently? Here's my belief. I believe that we are in a slowdown in many ways, but it's going to come back. I get asked all the time, oh, mobility's gone. It'll never come back. People are going to work from home. That is just categorically false. And we see it over and over again. Number one, we see people returning to office. Number two, we understand that just as humans, our human nature, I mean, as you know, I'm a psychologist by training. It is, we want to move, we want to migrate. That's human nature. So
Yep.
people will want to move to gain experiences. When you think about companies that have slowed down, we all slow down when times are a little tougher, but they will quickly recognize that if they truly want leaders that can lead an organization, they're going to need people that understand a global presence. And you don't get that by sitting wherever you are today and never leaving home. You'll never get that global presence. So there will be an investment. Then the last thing, and I know you and I have talked about this, I still can't prove it yet, but I do believe during COVID, we saw an acceleration in the retirement of baby boomers. I do believe there will be a war on talent, like something we've never experienced. We know it's coming. We've already predicted out that we will not have the workforce required to fill the jobs that we'll have. Some people say 2030. I think it's going to happen sooner. So right now we're in this kind of lull, but as we need more talent, as that war from talent comes back, what happens? Pay goes up. All of a sudden people start getting signing bonuses. And then all of a sudden the relocation packages get richer. We've got to be ready for that turn to be able to really fulfill the needs of our clients. Whenever they say, okay, we need this talent, we want to do this form, can you guys cover that? And if we can do that, then we'll be ready. It'll come back. I promise you it'll come back better, faster than we've ever thought. So I have no
That's awesome.
concerns.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, I've got to agree with you. We obviously are now only 8 weeks away from the Global Workforce Symposium, GWS, in outside of DC in October. And if you were to go by registration stats and the level of excitement and engagement within our industry for that event, it's unprecedented in many ways. What are you, and by the way, I'm obviously aware, know very well that Graebel is going to be there in full force and, coming back with a big presence. So what are you looking forward to, how you intend to spend your time there, and what are you expecting to get out of it and walk away with, if you will? It's
Yeah, so
fairly early
first,
on in your tenure as CEO, which is a good
yeah,
time.
well, let me start with this because you were very complimentary in the beginning. Let me be complimentary back. It has
Oh,
been
no.
phenomenal since you have to take it. I had to. So you've been phenomenal. You've brought a spark, an energy, a zest, a focus back into WERC. And I can tell you that I've been revitalized, as I've shared with you, to help in any way I can. I think we're all starting to sense that and feel that. I think we all recognize that when we come together for these events, they're amazing when we actually get the right folks coming to these events, right? So we know we've lost some certain types of folks coming in years past. Last year, this year, just the corporates that are attending, it's just phenomenal. And again, that's a testament to your leadership. So for me, when we go there, it's certainly about interacting, certainly with the corporates that are there, but also with our partners. It gives us a chance to see all of our partners in one place. And this is not a large industry. In some ways, it's almost like an annual high school reunion. We get to catch up, we get to see each other. Certainly, there's some fun events we get to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
but more importantly, it's camaraderie. And I don't know about you. I mean, I'm not in the office. I'm at all. I get back to Denver every so often. But to be able to be in a place for a week with
Yeah.
peers of this industry and interact and have that energy, man, I walk out of there charged up. And you just don't get those opportunities anymore. So I can say I'm more excited about this event coming up than I've been in years for a lot of events. So again, credit to you for building the energy and the zest and the excitement around it. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. Actually, it's exactly aligned with, I mean, it makes me so happy because at the end of the day, yeah, I'm a firm believer that magic happens when you put great minds together, right? And so this is a platform really to help that happen, right? And it's folks like you that are committing to taking the time out, making the investment to actually show up and spend quality time there, engaging with everybody else, because I know this for a fact, the dividends that will produce for this industry, for everyone in this industry, are going to be, well, I won't use superlatives yet. We'll wait for it until afterwards, but it's going to be very valuable. I mean, you can throw whatever compliments you want my way. Ultimately, it's about all of you in the industry, both leaders as well as the stalwarts that really make magic happen. And I think collaboration and communication is key to getting through challenging times, but getting to even more exciting times ahead. So I'm excited that that's what you highlighted of all the things. Even with it being a 60th anniversary, and I know parties are off the charts during that week whenever GWS happens, but it's about spending time with people, which is awesome. So I think we're approaching. I've got a time signal here, so it looks like we may be running out of time, although we can always do a follow-up. But I I want to try to ask you something that gives people a little sense of Ron Dunlap, the person, right? We talked about it at the start, and to end with, putting business aside for a second, like what does Ron care about? What does he get excited about? How do you spend your time? And then ultimately, what drives you? Putting business aside for a second. So
sure.
what keeps you going? What gets you out? And what keeps things exciting and fresh?
Honestly, for me, it's just helping others. I know that sounds corny, but I'll explain it. So when you have those moments, whether it's with some of the friends of our children, or whether it's you're working with someone in a work environment, or you're walking down the street and you see somebody that needs help, when you actually change someone's life, and maybe it's small, maybe it's major, that to me is what matters. That's leaving it better than you found it. And so when I think about what I go out and do, it's literally trying to teach. I think where I'm at in my career, where I'm at in my age, I'll say over mid 50s, we'll just say that. When you get to that point, you start recognizing that at this stage in your life, you just want to give back as much as you can. So whether it's through the church, whether it's through volunteer work, whether it's through helping neighbors, it's all I want to do. I just really want people, like, at the end, I won't be there, right? But I hope people that are there celebrating my life will go, he made my life better. And that's at the end, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. That's what I want people to say. And it's really that simple. I mean, I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've lived a life I would have never dreamed of. I'm a lower middle class kid from central Kansas, for God's sake. Yeah, I shouldn't be where I'm at, but you know what? Yeah, stay focused, work hard, and trust the mentors you find along the way and the partners you find. And when you find a great leader, don't leave them, follow them. And it's just amazing what you can get accomplished. But you realize real quick, it's not you, it's the team that does it all. And so I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky. I know I said to you at one point, we were talking a few weeks ago about who do you think when you get to this kind of point in your career. the list got so big, I couldn't do it. There was no way I could reach out and talk to everybody. So I've just been a blessed individual, and I want to make sure I bless others. That's it.
That's fantastic. I love that, and that's a great place to maybe call it for right now. But obviously, looking forward to many other conversations, that we're gonna have, and hopefully we can share more with others along the way. I just want to say congratulations both to you as well as to Graebel as an organization, and Bill Graebel, who I have tremendous respect for and I've gotten to know really well as well. Congratulations to all of you and the team at Graebel. I think the future is bright. I think there's certainly challenges in the industry right now, but I'm confident that if we come together and work together, that we can take this to even greater heights than we've seen in the past. And I'm excited for that. And for you to be at the helm at Graebel is an exciting time. So thanks for taking the time. Look forward to continuing the dialogue, and congratulations again and good luck.
Thanks, truly a privilege. Thank you.